Hey, welcome. This is Ravendawn again. Dr. Sachs. Good morning. I'm going to do another little quick stream with my coffee before I head to work. I'm heading over to the bounty boards. And this is my level 28 legacy main character, Lord Vendetta. An homage to the good old days of Ultima Online. That seem to be coming up in conversations with people who haven't even played Ultima Online more and more. That I talk about it in the chats, and then people are starting to wonder. They're getting a little bit of the FOMO, I think. What do you call fear of missing out on something that is long over with? whatever that fear is. And it's got me to thinking. I'm just like, if anybody knows, I know there's got to be one somewhere hiding in the shadows of this world that we all live on. There must be a server that has classic Ultima Online, like built in the image of the first year of Ultima. Preferably of Atlantic server, the very first server. I would love to find out if anybody knows of a server like that. I might actually want to play on it just to stream it and show people what it was like and what it could have been. Already. So the question of the day that came up in a comment from one of my viewers on one of my YouTubes was, he thinks durability loss would benefit us all. I agree. I think durability loss is needed in these games, and the main fundamental reason is because it would stop the power. It would stop the power. It would stop the nouveau riche from taking over the server, which I've seen happen time and time again. And once he actually, Bez is in the chat now, once Bez actually put forward the question, it dawned on me, like, why didn't I think of that before? Yes. And it makes professions more valuable. It pumps the economy. It makes everything better. Not only does this game not have durability loss, but you can take your old equipment and infuse it into your new equipment. Now, that doesn't necessarily have to go away. That mechanic can stay, but everything should still have the means to be destroyed. Especially because there's no full loot in this game. You can't just have someone kill you and take your gear. That never happens in these modern games because people will cry too much. So now we can't even have durability loss, apparently. So what keeps the power from becoming an inevitability? It's going to be inevitable that certain groups, certain guilds, certain people with big land plots are going to dominate everything. Yeah, less money, more goods means lower prices. There's actually kind of a durability your amount has fuel. Yeah, that's true. So some things like having to feed your bird, but it's a tiny little mechanic that barely impacts anybody. You don't necessarily even need the bird. You can literally just walk around without a bird. Like in Ultima Online, you could have mounts, but most of the time anybody that knew anything about PvP wouldn't even have mounts because they were just a liability. They would just get killed. They cost you money. Your enemies would kill them as soon as they kill you. Now, of course, if you watch Ultima Online private servers, they're just magical horses that just disappear as soon as you get off of them, and then you can summon them. And they're like, okay, here we go again. There's always this magic mechanic that makes everything perpetual because everybody is in too big of a hurry. I ain't got time for that. I ain't got time for a game that makes me actually have to worry about stuff being lost. I don't know. I'm a fan of the durability idea. What do y'all think? Put your comments below on this YouTube, because it'll only be about an hour that I'm streaming this. But anyway, I want to hear what people think, because I think it's a great idea. I think, why not? What are crafters for if you don't need more stuff? What's the auction house for if you don't need to buy new equipment? What's the point of having competitive PvP elements in a game if you can't lose anything even to time? And yeah, the competition would be fierce between the professions. They'd always be trying to compete with each other's prices. So you wouldn't have these crazy prices that we see on items now. You'll see tier stuff in the auction house for 700,000 silver. I'm sorry, what? Who the hell can afford that except somebody that's already super powerful on a main character and just wants to create a twink? He wants to create an alternate character that can now go around and do things that he wouldn't dare do on his main character. So that just creates a whole nother problem. You know, we've seen this all before. This happens over and over again. Anyway, I like the idea. Let's grab a bounty. I got to re-roll because I didn't like any of these. Oh, wolves. Hello. No brainer. Wolves. Give me those hides. More important than marks, more important than experience right now is silver. And I don't know, there we go. Oh, it's automatic now. They put that stuff on the map. You don't even have to click anything. Well, crazy prices will exist just because people are idiots, but yeah. I think the fundamental reason is because somebody is going to want top tier, top imbued. I don't even know if it matters. Like, to the actual, like, they don't even explain it really. I guess you could only see it. Again, things are a little bit too invisible in the game statistically. So what's the difference between rare and regular? Stats show themselves, but does the actual rarity classification, the color scheme of the border of the item, actually mean something on top of everything else? Is that the base stat? I mean, I haven't even taken time to even find that out, so it doesn't seem like it means a whole hell of a lot. So pricing something that high just seems like an absurd cash grab, but people will do it, and people will pay it if they think, oh yeah, well, I just want that one extra notch, because we know how the min-maxers are. The power gamers never change. They always got to have that one more point than the other guy, and they'll pay for it. So and this is another weird thing. Why are these wolves under the ground? And the killing begins. I remember the New World experienced the problem of everyone doing all the available quests, and thus people ran out of money to use for crafting, so every good was worth basically nothing. Yeah, see, in the old Ultima days, crafters actually could make some coin, and people would stand in line for decent crafters in towns to get their gear made, because it was more economical than going to an NPC vendor, and the quality was far higher, so it all actually mattered. And it wasn't overdone. It was very clear case. Everything was easy to understand. It was just a few numbers that would increase or decrease. A lot of these systems in games don't need to be complex. They just need to be logical. and have impact on the game world and on the player's experience. Be fair and balanced. That's good game design at its core, right? The nature of all good game design is to be fair and balanced. And who even knows if this game is balanced yet? We already see a lot of issues with range having advantages over melee, which is a classic problem. But then there's archery itself, which seems to be what everyone complains about the most compared to even magery and magic. So that doesn't surprise me either, because that was always a problem. I remember when they introduced crossbows into Ultima Online, and they were broken. They were so broken. You could one-shot most people with a crossbow. So of course that became the recipe of the day, of the week, of the month. And they finally had to balance that, put out a hot fix. Of course, we're talking about stuff that birthed all these other things. So they were clunky interfaces, and it was clunky by design because it was fresh and they were just learning. And those games impacted everything that we have come to understand as being an MMO today. But it's funny how something as old as Ultima still is so well conceived overall that it stands the test of time and is still being played, because at its core it was still a damn good game. Why is it so difficult to take a model that already works, don't reinvent the wheel, and just improve upon it, and then give us something like, you know, Ultima Online 2? Is it because of lawyers? Is it because of IP licensing? Is it because people have forgotten? Just like NASA pretends that they lost the way to get to the moon, that kind of thing? You know, is that what's going on? We just can't ever have it again because we don't remember how to do it? I don't know. These are the questions. I think a lot of it just has to do with the culture, and that people just want everything now. They want it all right now, and they want it easy. They're, you know, the attention span of the younger generations gets shorter and shorter. They're too used to consoles, so they can't experience a grind that actually has some pain involved, and they actually have to work for something in a multiplayer game. They all want to be superheroes right out of the box. Same thing with Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons, the tabletop, went from a game where every time you got into the session, you risked your character's life, to being a game full of superheroes that can't die. So maybe that's the answer. We've got a systemic problem with the culture that is impacting multiplayer games on every level, from tabletop all the way to video games. Now I'm waxing philosophic here. How do I get out of here? Yeah, there's actually no real reason to have an alt in this game. There's hardly a reason to have more than one character, period. I'm doing it just for the mere fact that I don't want to have to create new sets of gear based on one attribute as being the main. That's the reason I did it. And that's because everything lasts. And everything costs so much, right? The costs are too high and everything lasts forever. So my logical reasoning was, well, why am I using just one character to experiment with a main attribute when we know the difference is might and intelligence? So I made two characters. And that just kind of proves Bez's point again. Another reason why you had to have a handful of characters in Ultima Online is because your actions had consequences. So it was very typical for people that were running around with what would be considered high infamy characters in a game like this to being so-called dreadlords in Ultima. You couldn't go to town. That was just impossible. Unless you might be sneaky enough to be able to get to like 1 or 2 spots on the whole game map where you might be able to reach a bank and open a bank box. That's about the best you could hope for. Otherwise, you would get killed by players and or instantly killed by the guards. So you had to have other characters running around as your fetch-it characters or your, you know, armorers, weapon crafters, that kind of thing. You think the UO people are the Valheim, Rust, Conan, XL servers? Yeah, after you put up your post today, I started thinking about that. And no wonder Valheim is so popular, because Valheim has a lot of the very elements that we're talking about that most games don't. You know, death has real consequences in Valheim. They're not always stark, but sometimes they can be, depending on where you die. You can lose loot. You don't necessarily lose your base gear, but you can lose everything in your backpack if you can't get back to your stuff. You know, that makes it spicy. Makes it challenging, and a little bit of scary element there is important. And that ultimately equates to what? Fun, whether people acknowledge it consciously or not. Imagine if we had the guys at Valheim crafting an MMO. So that came to my mind. I'm like, wow, that would be something. So you get guys that can craft a game as good as Valheim at its core, and get them together with an MMO team that is qualified, and then have them come up with a full-fledged MMO that has a lot of the elements we're talking about right now, that would actually make it just scary enough and just enough loss and just enough gain that people would never want to stop playing, because it would always have fresh air, right? I don't know. I think we're going to possibly see something like that in the next couple of years, because these indie outfits are just kicking butt. So if there's a way to make that reality and to make a lot of profit off of it, why wouldn't it happen eventually? Especially because it's the pendulum effect, right? We're going to see gamers are going to start swinging the other direction. They're going to want more. They're going to want a more challenge and more ups and downs in their MMO gaming, especially if, you know, we're talking about player versus player and factions and guilds and just randos running around. They're going to end up saying, wow, you know, that was really fun. Similar to the way that Counter-Strike and other games have exploded when people didn't even know what they wanted yet. Somebody said, well, here's the thing. Let's try this. And people were like, okay, wait, that is a lot of fun. Uh-oh. Here we go. Okay, this shouldn't kill me, but I'll go ahead and sharpen something up anyway. Even WoW hasn't figured out its economy problem. Selling gold on their market is a clear violation of game's integrity. Yeah, well, yeah. The irony of all that is somehow they managed to ban me back in the day, and I never even once bought gold. Yeah. Gold sellers and all that stuff and dupers will always be a problem for every game. They already banned Guild here in this game for botting, believe it or not. It happened a few days ago. I just hope I get some hides out of all this. Funny how people assume that I did something to get banned. See, but that's the reason I never even had a chance to overturn it, because there was no jury system and they refused to even tell me why. So I had no clue as to what they were doing to get rid of me. And it happened to, I'm sure, hundreds of players back in that wave. And there we go. Destroy it and get my experience. Oh, what the heck? Are they doing another maintenance? Honestly. I mean, I guess it's good, but every time I log in this time of day, it seems like I see this message. Luckily, I'll be long gone by the time this happens. 60 minutes from now, I'll already be gone. Off to work. But, yeah, the devs are on top of it, but they're tweaking probably bugs and other things like that. They're not even close to addressing some of the changes that we would like to possibly see implemented or are asking questions about. You said you tested WoW, so that was a sort of knife in the back for the good bug hunting. If I'm in a game, bugs get found and they get fixed. I was a quality assurance engineer hired from gaming. Believe it or not, people that hired me for my corporation I met while playing Dark Age of Camelot. And they knew of me from Ultima Online. That's how much of a reputation I had in Ultima. In fact, I had killed the guy who hired me. I had actually destroyed the guild house almost single-handedly when I encountered his PK guild, Dreadlords or whatever, one day. And there was a whole story around that. We were all having a good laugh on that one. Anyway, there's a lot more to that story and how that all unfolded. I basically started porting in my guild through a gate. And anyway, but pretty wild how I ended up getting hired as a result of meeting people in a video game. Just like I got into other games that are, and became famous as a result of being in other games before those. People meeting people, or But in Ultima Online, there was a huge problem with Paralyze having too long of a spell duration, and they would gank people over and over outside of towns just by paralyzing them, and there was no escape. And I basically, this is back when Inner Circle, that guild of infamous alpha players from Ultima, were basically dominating the entire server and had everyone terrorized outside of all the major cities, because you never knew when they were going to show up, and they could kill pretty much anybody they wanted to at any point in time, because they were just way more powerful. They knew all the ins and outs of the game. They had all the best gear, and it was impossible to beat them. But so I would take it upon myself to go out and fight these guys to the death all the time. Didn't matter if I died. My point was to try to get evidence to show that certain things had to be changed. And I am the person, most people have no idea. I'm about to say something most people don't even know about. I'm the guy who got Paralyze changed. And after that got nerfed, people had a fighting chance to get away from guilds like Inner Circle, and they could actually get out into the game world, and the game started to expand, and people were able to play the game the way they should. So all that griefing stopped. Didn't stop entirely, of course, but it wasn't nearly the cluster that it had been. And so I had GM Tree Frog, who became a buddy of mine in the game, was the guy that listened to me when I called him in on it, and he watched all this stuff unfold in real time, and he showed all the evidence to Origins, and they changed it. So there you go. Bug squashed. Issue squashed. You checked one WoW private server, and they actually did some improvements to their systems I complained about when I first played, so devs do listen. Yeah, that's one good thing about private servers. These are usually created by players that do want a better playing experience, and they definitely will listen because they are obviously it's a much smaller player base, and those players are also typically driven by the same desire. The players on these private servers just want a new and fresh and better experience in most cases. Because you got to be kind of serious to even look for a private server of a game that's already existing, right? So you're looking for something a little bit different. Well, how huge could it be compared to the actual game itself is my point. Right now, I don't think anybody's even watching the stream on Twitch. But we've already had at least half dozen people float in and out on YouTube. Weird. I think some people are coming in to listen to some of the old school talk. They're curious. This is the most I've talked about all those games in maybe ever in the stream, actually. Because this, you can't help but start thinking about Ultima when you play a game from this perspective and this style and this retro look, because it does look like actually the original like Ultima game, some incarnations of the pre-MMO versions, yeah, with the avatar and all that stuff, the Black Gate, etc. I think it was called that anyway. It's been so damn long. I wonder if I still have a copy of any of that stuff stored away. I lost so much stuff in a couple of hard drive failures that I probably don't. Yeah, the skill system is definitely the best thing about this game. It still has a door open to creativity and coming up with something unique, or that fits your play style, or that can complement a group of your friends in combat or guild play or whatever. Are there any wolves over here? Yes. Wait, what level are these? I'm surprised there aren't more people here killing these things, to be honest. As valuable as hides are. People must be making their money in better ways than some schlub like me is doing right now. Yeah, again, if we could have, say, classic Ultima when it was, I wouldn't say a simpler game, but a more refined and elegant game than it is now. It's not out of control with the crazy changes that I see that most of these private servers doing, and even ultimately what I guess Ultima itself has evolved into. And then we just implement a graphics overhaul and, more than anything else, get expert UI engineers to create and enhance the UI, it would be an absolutely fantastic game. And then put some elements in maybe that games like Valheim have shown to be excellent, like a food system along the line of the survival element for food and drink in Valheim. Put that into the game maybe. Just the best ideas that might work in that environment. And you could have such a great game, but, you know, again, it's just all a pipe dream right now. I wish I could zoom in and out of this game, too. I don't know why they didn't think to put that in the game. This is just a tiny cave here. Hey Luna, how's it going? Thanks for the follow. Like one of the silliest skills that gives the game flavor is the food tasting skill. Yeah, I think the food tasting skill is used to detect if there's poison in food, if I recollect. Because you can actually poison food in Ultima too. Doing good. Just grind until I go to work. Having a little chit chat. In the Ravendawn. Trying to get some hides. Because I need money. Poor boy. Yeah, the way the skill system worked was nice because it forced people to be different. You couldn't have a whole bunch of cookie cutters running around. And it also was a damn good reason to have a few alternate characters to play in the game. So everyone was always providing a role in Ultima. Whether you were crafting or mining or fishing or a Grandmaster Mage or a warrior or an assassin or a bad guy, good guy, everybody had unique role to play in the game, and you would have word of mouth reputation based on what your role was. We can have that again in games. PAX A might turn into something like that. Star Citizen might turn into something like that. But remains to be seen. We still have to get these damn games released and the systems in place. Yeah, we have definitely got to have safe spaces to some extent, but they're overdone. Well, it's funny because people do horrible stuff and will admit to it, and they've never been banned. I mean, Asmongold has admitted to things like his guild would mass report people and get them temp banned or whatever. But he himself has never had that happen to him, or, you know, well, maybe once. But like, people do stuff to get people perma-banned using similar methods, and they themselves never get banned from games. It's crazy. Just goes to show you power in numbers. You can target people and victimize people in these games still and get away with it. Oops. What the hell? How did I press that button? But then I'll have my... Oh, how many did I lose? I had, I think, 4 max level characters deleted when they banned my account. I don't even want to think about how much effort I put into my druid just by himself, as far as like engineering, enchanting, cooking. I mean, it was like so many hours. And not to mention the PvP and all the accolades that I'd won, all the PvP gear that I earned, all the top tier stuff that I had. Solo, because my guild had long since left the game. Yeah. Not to mention, if I'd stayed with the game, what would have happened? Would I have just wasted my life, or would I have ended up being a YouTube star? Who knows? Oh, man. It's funny how things impact you, and you look back and you wonder, what could have been? All right. That's why survival games only get to have nice gameplay. Power and numbers don't work as well if you have 64 player limit. That is true. And there's something to be said for mass online gaming not necessarily needing so much mass. I've found. You don't need to have 10,000 people on a server. You don't even need to have 1,000 people on a server. If you've got 100 good people on a game world, that makes the game just fine. As long as there's activity and people have a good game to play and the systems work, the potential is still the same with 100 people as it is with 1,000. Now, would it be cooler to have something like Star Citizen have 1,000 plus people on a server? Yeah, probably. As long as the system can handle that kind of gameplay and that many spaceships fighting one another in a battle around a station or a planet, sure. Same thing with Ashes of Creation. But the game has to be able to have the systems in place that can handle that much of a crowd. Typically, they don't handle them that well. Or you have so much spam on the screen, it'll cause an epileptic seizure, for God's sakes. Which I'm not a fan of, by the way. I cannot stand spell spam. Are these both actual wolves, or is one of them summoned? Yeah. Been killing druids. Even in this game, sure, I'd kill anybody. Even in Dark Age of Camelot, where melees weren't supposed to be able to kill druids, I killed a druid one time, and he about had a conniption. I've never been killed by a melee before. How did this happen? Well, I'm tricky. They were so overpowered. Oh my god, all the casters were so overpowered in Dark Age compared to melee. It was just ridiculous. I still like that Dark Age style. You talk about a combat system that most people would cry about now. Jeez. They had all these counter moves and everything. Way more complex than anything you've seen as in a standard MMO. You had to go by reading the text combat chat. It was just ridiculous sometimes. But I never wanted for a group with my tank, I'll tell you that what. If I showed up, it was instant grouped. And it was also such a grind to get to max level that when you did, everybody was like practically a little party and congratulating you. And it's like, because everybody was like, man, I wish that was me. I can't wait for that day. I don't have to do this anymore. And I could actually go out into the world with my main level character. Yeah, I don't like the gamey feel of some of the mechanics that are going on in a lot of these modern games where you just slaughter stuff and there's no ramifications, no faction build-up. I mean, even games like I'm talking about, like Dark Age, had that element handled correctly, where if you could like one of my tricks was, so I'll give you an idea. So in Dark Age, there was a no man's land. There's 3 factions, and all the big fighting would happen out in this no man's land outside of the different realms where people would do the majority of their PvE stuff in order to be able to get viable to go participate in the faction-based fighting that would happen. And then you would have different strongholds that could be taken over and lost over and over in cycle between the different factions, and ultimately there was a prize to be won, and you could literally win that round, and then the whole thing would start over again. And this would go on for days at a time before one faction would end up being crowned the winner, etc., etc. But they had mobs out in no man's land also, so you could end up going out there and farming mobs for a little extra, money, because it would be more dangerous, and those things would be valued higher as a result. But they also could be faction-based things, like similar to orcs and ogres and whatever. And I forget, but they had like different ones they came from the different mythologies, whether they're Celtic, Norse, or Britain, Arthurian legends and all that. So anyway, I would work to make a hostile faction friendly to me that would be closer to my realm's entry point, so that if I got in deep trouble getting chased, I could run enemy factions through these camps where they would assume that those things were going to kill me, and I'd just be like dancing right through them, not even getting touched, and these things would aggro them and I'd be gone. Or in some cases they'd get killed and I would be victorious if it was just a small group or whatever. So again, spice. Little things like that added to a game world. God forbid players can be crafty and cunning and outwit you. Oh my, we can't have that nowadays. It all has to be about, I own the biggest farm and I can have the most money, so I've got the biggest sword, therefore I win. Lame. People just don't like it when somebody outskills or outthinks them. But isn't that the whole point originally of gaming? Competition? Do they complain about that at a chess tournament? I don't think so. But you can't expect normies and casuals to play in games like that, I guess. It's not where the money is, I suppose. Not anymore, anyway. I just think a lot of it is just, like I said, cultural. It's generational. We've got a lot of people that are just a lot softer than they used to be. Gen Xers like me are notoriously sarcastic and jaded and a little harder, I guess. So we actually like a little difficulty. We respond well to some challenge. Except if it's Elden Ring. I don't consider that a challenge. I consider that just a bad UI. and rolly, 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 dodge, 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 dodge. Oh man, who the hell thinks that's fun? I'm sorry, but I'm just not a fan. We'll see more of that on Saturday. Bots are permitted. Bots used to not be permitted. So that's new. I don't know who's permitting bots, but that definitely is something that wasn't a thing. Can I go in here? No, I can just look at these guys. Think it's a lack of fathers raising children? Oh yeah, there's something to be said for that. But then that's a whole other channel. Yeah, but I agree. You can attend the bot. Well, they've changed the rules then. I mean, maybe not change the rules. I know some private servers will allow you to attend your bot. But you kind of have to have bots and some of that stuff. If you played the game, you'd understand. Mining is a real grind, dude. It's rewarding, but it's a very cool mining system in Ultima compared to a lot of games. But it is a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. And using a bot just simply makes it a little less stressful. It doesn't make it necessarily that much easier. Because you still have to contend with the fact that somebody could come up and murder your miner, bot or no bot, and take all his stuff. Yeah, they just do that for quality of life, really, because, you know, you're still dealing with an antiquated system, and some of those things do take an incredibly long time, even just to find the nodes and farm them, and you got to transport, you get weighed down. There's a whole laundry list of stuff that I'm remembering now, just sitting here thinking about the mining in Ultima. I did plenty of it. You can mine from the sides of... You can mine the sides of mountains. It's finding the mine spots too. Like you can get on a boat. Unlike this game, you actually can bring your character onto a boat. Look at that game. Like back, how old is it, Ultima? And you have better boating mechanics than you have in a game like this. So you get on your boat, you're sailing around in real time with your own character, risking yourself. You can get attacked by sea serpents and other players, etc. You can take your boat out and mine off of the boat on the sides of otherwise inaccessible areas, and then drag the ore onto your boat, and then go back to the town, drop it off, go back and into the lake or the ocean again, and rinse and repeat. I mean, it was an experience all unto itself. Always with the fear that somebody's going to come along and myrtleize you. Your Fortress. Yeah. I played a little bit of it. I've played RimWorld. I streamed RimWorld when I first streamed. Actually, I had quite a big crowd of people watch me play that. In fact, that was my first go around of streaming. That was only about 3 months long or whatever. That was years ago. And then I didn't come back to it till, what was it, 2 years ago? I think we're approaching my 2-year anniversary now of my return. There was a 6-year hiatus in between those few months that I originally tried the streaming game. I should have probably kept at it, but I had little faith, I guess. Plus, I was going through a lot of hardships. Things were happening in the real world, and yeah, I just didn't think about it. Didn't think about the streaming game. And it is 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's head back to town. Somebody could steal your boat. Yep. Somebody could steal your whole house. I'll tell the chat a story one of these days from Ultima when I took down an entire duping guild by myself after I had returned to the game. I'd been away for a while. And that's a pretty hilarious story, actually. And that was also being sneaky again. Just using all the in-game UO mechanics to trick some peoples into opening their front door. And just for context, if anybody watches this, when all is said and done, I got to the top of their main base and opened a chest, and there was a deed inside for a castle. If anybody ever played Ultima, they'll know just how valuable that sucker was. Yeah, Minecraft, another classic game that people still play because it's just so damn good. I ran a private server for some friends of mine back in the day when I finally got wind of Minecraft. This was before it went full-blown bat crazy and everybody was aware of it, and we had a lot of fun. In fact, it was my boss at my company at the time that had told me about it. But I get to a point where I just kind of, you know, I don't know, the synapses in my brain can only saturate so much with one game before I have to move on. So even with that, it came a point where I was like, okay, next. How many hides did I get? 7. But they also give spools of hair. So you get hides and spools of hair from wolves and bears, guaranteed. Got luxury Ravendawn bag. 2 health pots, greater health pots. Nice. I didn't expect that. I think I got a little extra time here because I don't have to fill up my gas tank or anything, so we should be safe to do some marketplace stuff before I take off. Let's see. Hide. $555. Somebody really under. What is that? What are you doing? What are you going down that far for, brother? Oh, I guess okay. It was out of order. 555. All right. I keep forgetting I can do that in here. $554. It is a nice little UI element that they threw in. Spool of hair. $156. Wolf steaks. That's just trash. Wolf skulls. We can probably just sell this stuff. These are probably just 20. Probably a waste of my money to put these up here, actually. But get them out of my backpack. Can't sell them any other way, unfortunately. A lot of this stuff we should be able to sell for some default value to any vendor. I'm kind of confused why we can't do that. There we go. Hide's already sold. Just like that. Boom. I got enough money to buy a shield now. Mission accomplished. No, you're not hearing me. You should be able to sell things to NPC vendors. Not for the amount that you can get for them on the auction house, for something. Like, I should just be able to walk up and say, okay, I want to sell my old ring for whatever. I just want to get rid of stuff. I don't want to be like, destroy this or put it on the auction house where it won't sell at all. Like, you were even complaining about the silver in this game. You should be the first one wanting that system in place where you at least get a silver piece for something that otherwise would just go to waste, or you throw away, or would sit in an auction house with 1,000 other things at 20 silver that will never ever sell and cost you money to put up on sale. You know, that kind of thing. That's all I'm talking about. Because this stuff is of no value right here. This just takes up space. These rings. This soulbound stuff. Yet they're valuable. So why should I just throw them away? I earned these. Why isn't this worth a silver piece? Why isn't this worth 10 silver pieces or 100 silver pieces? Or 10 per mite? So this would be worth 20 silver pieces, or this is worth 30 silver pieces. I mean, this is just basic economic stuff that is available in every other freaking game. I don't understand why we just can't sell some crap off. Doesn't make any sense at all. It's a waste of time. Why would I use them? I've outgrown these. If we had durability be an issue on rings, which I would be saying that's a little too much. Giving durability to jewelry might be a little much, but if that was a thing and they could wear out, then yeah, having some backup gear would be of value. But otherwise, they just sit here and take up space. They're doing nobody any good. So ultimately, I'll just destroy them because I need the bank slots. Right now, I'm just staring at them, wondering why I can't sell them for a silver piece. Who? This chick here?
Ours is the most beautiful city in Ravendawn, but the rich keep getting richer. They sit idly in their estates, while we live in rat-infested tenements. But it's us common folk who run this city. Our skilled artists reduced to selling work in alleyways. I saw one just the other day outside the armorer.
Who? This one? This one? Green dress. Where? Anyway, I don't have time for this. I have to actually get going. Literally. I gotta go. Gotta go right now. There's a use for soul-bound items. Is there? Alright, that's news to me. That's interesting. Some of these things don't even have working quests, like this Brotherhood Feather. I've tried to follow up on this, couldn't get it to work. I did that one trinket the other day live on stream with 2 different characters and couldn't get that damn door to open up. You can't sell this stuff to the collectors. Is my point. I'm not brain dead, guys. Remember that in the future, that, you know, Doc is pretty sharp. It's not like I haven't tried. This stuff can't be sold to the collector. The collector only buys trash gear. Nobody else buys any of this soulbound stuff, is my point. So it just seems like a waste of time and economy to not be able to sell off junk items that actually aren't necessarily junk, that have value to you in the game, and then you outgrow them, we should be able to just sell them off and be done with it and have a couple of pieces of silver in our pockets from it. Not rocket science. I don't understand why it's not in the game. What's the big deal? Oh, I am old. Yeah. Well, anyway, I gotta go, fellas. I wish I could say, but time is money. And I gotta keep, the only way I keep the lights on around here and have these streams is to go make the money, just like everybody else. So unfortunately, got to go. Plus, the server's about to go down here again for maintenance in about 30 minutes, it looks like. So just as well. Thanks for the conversation. Good questions about durability. I think you're onto something there, Bez. It won't come to the game though. People will cry, so it won't happen. But the more that I think about it, the more that I am starting to wish that I had another game like Ultima to play, and also that probably will never happen either. But maybe there's a possibility. I mean, I can put an Ultima server that's a classic Ultima server. I have one. Okay, I'm just going to tell you right now, I have one. All right, I have one. But will I stream it? Maybe. Now that I see that people actually streaming private servers, maybe one of these days I'll throw that up just to wander around, if nothing else, to show people this is what it used to look like back in the day. And it even has player housing in it. It's basically a capture of a server that was a classic Ultima server when it went kaput, and they made it available so that people could have the server record. And it's kind of fascinating, actually. In fact, I can actually get into some of the houses and stuff using GM tools and look at what people actually had. And it's almost like, I don't know, Planet of the Apes when he's going up to the Statue of Liberty. That's what it kind of feels like. I haven't looked at that in years, but I mean, it would be fun to kind of look at again. The purple lady by the this one? Oh, you can talk to her. Little F never popped up over her head. There it is. The items you carry, do you hear the whispers of untapped potential? What are you talking about? Dawn Essence Wanderer. It's all around us, even within the most basic items you carry, if you can sense it. Can you? I've spent years mastering the technique of extracting Dawn Essence from even the most mundane objects, although this power comes with a cost, and rules must be observed for the process to work. What are the rules? For starters, the item in question needs to be a piece of equipment. Even a weapon will do. This makes the process easier. Then the piece needs to be of mundane quality. Anything better than basic grade apparel will spoil the result. This is where the mysteries of the technique start unraveling. The piece in question shall not be tied to your life thread or soul bound, as I like to call it. Shall not be tied to your life thread or soul bound. Also, it should not be infused with any sort of experience from past echoes. The piece of gear you wish to extract Dawn Essence from will be broken down, destroyed in the process. This is the price to pay for power. Oh, and it goes without saying, but you should only offer gear that you are not currently using or wearing. I want to break down gear into Dawn Essence. You don't seem to be in possession of any item meeting the strict rules involved. Okay, so let's go over here. So soulbound cannot be broken down even by that process. So, but this should be able to be broken down. I've got a basic axe right here. Yeah, let's just sacrifice this. Let's see what she says. I want to break down gear. Wicked axe. 2 essence. Ooh. Hey. But there it is. Okay. Thanks for pointing her out. At least now we know that we can actually get a little bit of essence from breaking down a perfectly good piece of equipment that we could sell in the auction house. But not for stuff that's soulbound. 2 stinking essence, and she won't let us do it with soulbound equipment. I ask you, how does that... are we going to break the game if I can take a soulbound ring that I don't want anymore and get 2 essence from it? I don't think so. I love to have a conversation with these developers sometime and hear the reasoning behind these things. There must be a reason that I'm not seeing or hearing or understanding at the moment. I'm sure I just haven't thought of it. Yeah, so you could literally buy trash items off of the auction house, bring it over here, and sell for essence. So that's good to know. But it still doesn't solve the conundrum that I was talking about with the soulbound gear not having any value once it's run its course. Unless, of course, like we said, we introduced durability to the game, and then even jewelry might wear out eventually, and then you have some backup gear. But by that point, you'll have enough gold, you'll just go buy something or find something anyway, so it's probably pointless. I still say we should just be able to just sell off our damn soulbound gear to a vendor and be done with it for some nominal amount of money. Nothing game breaking, just something to put a couple extra pieces in your pocket. Anyway, all right, I gotta go, guys. Thanks for the chit chat. I will be back again tonight, probably with more of this, and then rinse and repeat on Friday, and then of course Saturday Elden Ring again and all the pain, and then maybe some Dungeons and Dragons on Sunday. You guys have a great rest of your day, and hopefully I will see you again, God willing, later tonight.